The Devourer armada filled the sensors with targets. 3,000 ships, maybe more. They spread across the outer solar system like a plague, their biomechanical hulls pulsing with organic energy. The harvester drones launched immediately, clouds of them so thick they blocked the stars. All defense platforms opened fire. Admiral Park Doyen commanded, "Don't let them reach the inner system." The solar defense perimeter came alive. Weapons platforms that had been built over 6 months of desperate work began firing. Missiles streaked through space. Energy weapons carved lines of destruction through the drone swarms. The Devourers pushed forward anyway, accepting losses that would have broken any other fleet. "They don't care about casualties," Battlemaster Corthan observed from his command ship. "They just keep coming." "Then we keep fighting," Admiral Jang Hyunwoo replied. "All fleet units engage at will. Remember the plan. We hold them at the outer perimeter as long as possible." The Valkyrie's fleet moved to intercept the left flank of the Devourer advance. 83 warships against 1,000 enemies. It should have been suicide. But the Valkyrie's crews had trained with humans for 6 months. They used human tactics, hit and run, never stay still, force the enemy to chase while defense platforms picked them off. On the right flank, human destroyers and cruisers did the same. Captain Un Ji-yeon commanded the unity, leading a mixed squadron of human and Valkyrie's vessels. Her crew worked together perfectly, humans and aliens coordinating without hesitation. "Target the command nodes," Ji-yeon ordered. "Just like we practiced." The Unity's weapon systems, combining human and Valkyrie's technology, were devastating. Quantum displacement torpedoes destroyed 3 Devourer cruisers in quick succession. Enhanced shields held against return fire that would have destroyed a normal ship. In space, Lieutenant Kim Subin led the fighter squadrons into hell. 3,000 human and Valkyrie's fighters against tens of thousands of drones. The odds were impossible, but the pilots flew anyway. "Stay with your wingmen," Subin shouted, her fighter twisting through a cloud of enemy drones. "Don't try to be heroes." A Valkyris pilot named Kirvan flew beside her, his fighter moving in perfect coordination with hers. They had trained together for months. Now they fought together. Their weapons fire destroyed drone after drone, but there were always more. "I'm hit," called a human pilot. "Engines failing." "I've got you," Kirvan replied, moving his fighter to protect the damaged craft. "Get to the Sovereign's recovery bay. I'll cover you." The Titan-class vessels held the center line. 8 massive battle carriers, each one a fortress in space. The Sovereign led them, Captain Han Ji-woo watching the tactical display with intense focus. "They're trying to break through our center," Commander Choi Min-ho reported. "Devourer battleships advancing. 20 of them. Let them come," Ji-woo said. "Target their lead ships. Full broadside." The Sovereign's weapons unleashed destruction. The spinal railgun fired again and again, each shot punching through enemy shields. Gravitational beam weapons tore ships apart. Point defense systems created an impenetrable wall of fire. But the Devourers pushed closer anyway. One of the Titan-class vessels, the UTNS Thunderchild, took heavy damage. Its captain, a veteran named Park Min-jae, refused to retreat. "All power to forward shields. If they want this ship, they'll have to take it from our cold hands." The battle raged for hours, then days. The fleets moved through the outer system, fighting constantly. Ships were destroyed on both sides. The defense platforms were overwhelmed one by one. But the Devourers were paying a terrible price. For every Allied ship destroyed, 10 Devourer vessels were reduced to debris. On the 3rd day, engineer Nam Junho made a breakthrough. Working with engineer Lee Sang-hoon and a team of Valkyrie's technicians, he found a pattern in the Devourer network system. "They're using a redundant node system," Junho explained to Admiral Doyen via communication link. "But the redundancy has a flaw. If we hit multiple nodes simultaneously across their fleet, we can cause a cascade failure in their entire network." "How many ships do we need to coordinate?" Doyen asked. "All of them, sir. Every ship in our fleet needs to fire on a designated target at the exact same moment." It was an impossible request. Coordinating hundreds of ships across millions of kilometers of space, all firing at the same instant? But Admiral Jang Hyunwoo saw the opportunity. "We'll do it," he said. "Send the targeting data to every ship. We'll use the Valkyrie's quantum communication network to synchronize." The plan was distributed across the fleet. Every captain received their target. Every weapon system was prepared. Dr. Kang Hyeri coordinated the communication network, ensuring every ship was linked. "All vessels report ready," she told Captain Ji-woo. Fleet Admiral. The Sovereign is ready, Jiwoo reported. One by one, every ship in the Allied fleet confirmed they were prepared. Human vessels, Valkyris warships, the Unity with its mixed crew. Even the damaged Thunderchild confirmed it could fire. On my mark, Admiral Jang Hyunwoo said. 3, 2, 1, fire. Hundreds of ships fired simultaneously. Quantum displacement torpedoes, plasma cannons, gravitational beams. Every weapon in the Allied arsenal unleashed at the same moment, each targeting a specific command node in the Devourer network. The effect was instantaneous and catastrophic. The Devourer fleet's coordination collapsed completely. Ships that had moved with perfect unity suddenly operated independently. They collided with each other. They fired on their own vessels by mistake. Their formation fell apart into chaos. All ships attack, Doyen ordered. Don't give them time to recover. The Allied fleet surged forward. The Sovereign led the charge, its massive bulk crushing through the enemy formation. Lieutenant Subin's fighters exploited every opening. Captain Jeon's squadron destroyed Devourer ships that couldn't coordinate their defenses. Major Hong Daehyun's Marines, both human and Valkyries, boarded damaged Devourer vessels to ensure they couldn't repair their systems. The fighting was brutal and close quarters, but the mixed teams worked perfectly together. The Battle of Seoul lasted 3 weeks total. But after that coordinated strike, the outcome was certain. The Devourers fought on, but they were no longer unified. They were defeated piece by piece, ship by ship. When the last Devourer vessel was destroyed, the Allied fleet had lost 47 ships. But 3,000 enemy vessels were debris. The solar system was saved. 1 year later, Admiral Han Jiwoo stood on the bridge of the Sovereign. He had been promoted after the battle, now commanding the entire United Alliance fleet. The Sovereign patrolled the border regions, where new species were making first contact with the Alliance. The Valkyries Confederacy had fully integrated with humanity. Ambassador Lee Minji now negotiated with dozens of new alien species. The Battle of Seoul had become legendary across known space. Species that had hidden in fear now came forward, asking to join the Alliance. The unity was no longer unique. Dozens of mixed crew vessels now served in the fleet. Humans and Valkyries worked side by side, no longer seeing each other as aliens, but as partners, friends, family. Captain An Ji-yeon commanded a new exploration fleet, searching for other civilizations that needed protection from threats like the Devourers. Cultural liaison Mirasol and researcher Bae Jasu ran the Alliance Cultural Exchange Program, helping new species understand each other. President Yoon Seo-ho had been elected Secretary General of the United Alliance, leading a government that represented 17 species. High Diplomat Zelthar served as his deputy, their friendship having grown into a powerful political partnership. On Earth, monuments were built to honor the fallen. Captain Shin Aryam's name was carved alongside 300 Valkyries' names, symbolizing the sacrifice that had created the Alliance. Children, both human and alien, learned about the Battle of Seoul in schools. They learned that courage meant standing together, that survival meant protecting each other. Admiral Jiwoo looked at the stars through the Sovereign's main view screen. Somewhere out there, new threats waited. They always did. But humanity was no longer alone. They had allies. They had friends. And together they were ready for whatever came next. Commander Choi Minho approached. Admiral, we're receiving a distress signal from an unknown species. They're under attack, Jiwoo smiled. Set course to intercept, maximum speed, and send a message to the fleet. Tell them the Alliance is coming. The Sovereign turned toward the distress signal and accelerated. Behind it, dozens of ships followed. Human vessels, Valkyris warships, ships from all the species that had joined the Alliance. Together they moved through the darkness of space, defenders of life itself. Earth had reached for the stars, expecting to find wonder. They found danger instead, but they also discovered that the greatest strength came not from standing alone, but from standing together, and that strength would carry them through whatever challenges the galaxy held. The memorial service was held on Harmony Station 1 week after the battle. Humans and Valkyries stood together in the main assembly hall. Ambassador Lee Minji spoke first, reading the names of every human who died. Then High Diplomat Zelthar read the Valkyries' names. The list was long. When Captain Shin Aryam's name was read, Captain Han Jiwoo stepped forward. He held a small medal, humanity's highest military honor. A holographic image of Ariam appeared beside him. Captain Shin Ariam gave her life to save others, Jiwoo said. She could have escaped. Instead, she chose to protect allies she had met only days before. Her sacrifice represents the best of humanity, and it saved 300 Velkari's lives. Battlemaster Korthan came forward. The massive alien warrior knelt and placed his clawed hand over his chest in a Velkaris gesture of respect. We will remember her name forever. Her courage is now part of our history. After the ceremony, the real work began. President Yoon Seo-ho met with the Velkari's Confederacy Council through quantum communication. The discussion lasted 12 hours. High Diplomat Zelthar argued passionately for a full alliance. Some council members resisted, worried about giving up authority to a species they had only just met. But the threat of the Devourers was too great to ignore. Finally, the agreement was reached. Ambassador Lee Minji negotiated the terms carefully. Equal partnership, shared technology, joint command structure. No species would give orders to the other. It was unprecedented in Velkari's history, but these were unprecedented times. The real challenge was time, 6 months to prepare for an invasion of thousands of ships. It seemed impossible. Engineer Nam Junho worked day and night with Velkari's engineers. In a large facility on Earth's moon, they combined technologies. The humans shared their quantum slip drives, which were faster than Velkari's faster-than-light systems. They shared gravitational weapons and advanced armor designs. The Velkaris provided their superior shield technology and faster-than-light communication networks that didn't rely on quantum relays. "This is remarkable," said a Velkaris engineer named Telvar, examining a human drive system. "How did you develop this?" Nam Junho smiled tiredly. "Necessity. When we discovered the Devourers 15 years ago, we knew we needed to move faster than them. Our scientists worked without rest. 15 years of preparation," Telvar said with admiration. "Your species thinks ahead." "We have to," Junho replied. "We're survivors." Dr. Ryu Jiho and science advisor Quilven led teams analyzing every piece of Devourer technology recovered from the battle. They learned the biomechanical ships grew and repaired themselves. They learned the drones could adapt to weapons after seeing them used. They learned the network system had redundancies that made it harder to disrupt than they first thought. "We need to hit them harder and faster than before," Ryu explained to Admiral Park Doyen. "They'll adapt to our tactics. We can't give them time to adjust." Admiral Ko Seung-jin was appointed commander of the Joint Defense Initiative. He coordinated with Battlemaster Korthan to plan the defensive strategy. Together, they designed the Solar Defense Perimeter, a network of weapons platforms, sensor arrays, and defense stations ringing the entire solar system. Velkari's construction vessels arrived, bringing resources and workers. Human and alien crews worked side by side, building the defense network. On Mars, new shipyards were constructed to repair damaged vessels and build new ones. 4 more Titan-class ships were under construction, being rushed to completion. Cultural liaison Mirasol worked with researcher Bae Jisoo to bridge the cultural gaps. They organized exchange programs where human and Velkari's crew members learned about each other. Understanding grew slowly but steadily. "Your species is fascinating," Mirasol told Jisoo. "You prepare for the worst but hope for the best. You build weapons of war but dream of peace." "Pure contradictions," Jisoo laughed. "That's humanity. We contain multitudes." The first mixed crew vessel was christened Unity. Captain An Ji-yeon, a veteran of the Resource Wars, was given command. Her crew was half human, half Velkaris. The first days were challenging. Different sleep cycles, different dietary needs, different communication styles. But slowly the crew began to work together. Lieutenant Kim Subin trained Velkari's pilots in human fighter tactics. The aliens were skilled, but humans had developed techniques during their own conflicts that were new to them. High-speed atmospheric combat, zero-gravity knife-fighting maneuvers, attack patterns designed for outnumbered situations. "You fight like you expect to be outnumbered," observed a Velkaris pilot named Kirvan. "We usually are," Subin replied with a grin, "so we train for it." Major Hong Dae-hyun ran joint military exercises. Human Marines and Velkari soldiers trained together, learning each other's strengths and weaknesses. The Velkaris were stronger physically. Humans were more adaptable and creative in tactics. Together, they became more effective than either species alone. On the Sovereign, Captain Jiwoo recovered from his wounds. He spent time with High Diplomat Zelthar, and an unexpected friendship formed. They discussed philosophy, the burden of leadership, and the nature of courage. "I underestimated your species," Zelthar admitted one evening. "I thought you were primitive because we didn't understand what we were looking at. Your strength isn't just your weapons, it's your determination. You knew the Devourers were coming and you prepared. Most species would have panicked or fled. We had nowhere to run," Jiwoo said. "This is our home. Our only home. We either defend it or die trying." "That's what makes you dangerous," Zelthar said. "Not your weapons, but your refusal to surrender." Dr. Kang Hieri and cultural liaison Mirazol worked together constantly, developing a true shared language and cultural understanding. They created training materials used across the fleet. Their work helped both species see each other not as aliens, but as people. As the 6-month deadline approached, the combined fleet assembled. 8 Titan-class vessels, 4 original and 4 newly completed, 130 human destroyers and cruisers, 83 Velkari's warships. The Velkari's Confederacy had called in vessels from all their member species. Over 3,000 fighter craft were ready. The solar defense perimeter was online, its weapons platforms positioned strategically throughout the system. Ambassador Park Yoonji, who had been appointed as Earth's ambassador to the Velkari's Confederacy, reported from the Velkari's capital world. Other alien civilizations were watching. Some had also been attacked by the Devourers. Word was spreading about humanity's stand. Several species were sending observers, and some were considering joining the alliance. On the last day before the expected arrival, President Yoon Seoho delivered a speech broadcast across both human and Velkari space. He spoke of courage and unity. He spoke of sacrifice and hope. His final words resonated across millions of beings. "We came to the stars seeking knowledge and found war. We sought peace and found monsters, but we also found something unexpected: allies, friends, partners in survival. Today we are not just humans and Velkaris. We are defenders of life itself." Fleet Admiral Jang Hyunwoo stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, watching sensor displays. The defensive fleet was positioned perfectly. Every ship was ready. Every crew was prepared. He had spent his entire career preparing for this moment. Captain Han Jiwoo sat in his command chair on the Sovereign. Around him, his crew worked with quiet efficiency. Commander Choi Minho at tactical, Dr. Kang Hieri monitoring communications, Lieutenant Kim Subin in her fighter, ready to launch, Engineer Nam Junho in engineering, keeping every system running perfectly. Then the sensors detected them. Thousands of signatures appearing at the edge of the solar system. The Devourer Armada had arrived, the largest fleet ever assembled in known space, ship after ship dropping out of faster-than-light travel. Hundreds, thousands, more than anyone had imagined. The command channel opened. Every ship in the defensive fleet heard Captain Jiwoo's voice, calm and steady. "This is Captain Han Jiwoo of the UTNS Sovereign to all vessels." They came expecting to find prey. Instead, they found predators. They came expecting to harvest worlds. Instead, they'll find warriors. Humanity didn't build these ships to conquer. We built them to survive. And we don't plan to stop surviving today. All ships battle stations. Let's show them what happens when they threaten our home. The greatest battle in known history was about to begin. The conference room on Harmony Station fell silent. High Diplomat Zelthar stared at the tactical display showing the new arrivals. 15 massive ships floated at the edge of the solar system. They were larger than even the human Titan-class vessels, and their design was unlike anything he had seen before. Biomechanical, organic and machine fused together into something that looked alive. "What are they?" Zelthar asked. Captain Han Jiwoo's face was grim. "We call them the Devourers. 15 years ago, our probes found evidence of them in the Kepler 442 system. They had consumed an entire civilization, every planet stripped clean, every ship destroyed, nothing left but empty worlds." Dr. Kang Hieri's voice came through the speakers again. "Captain, they're launching smaller craft. Harvester drones. Thousands of them." Ambassador Lee Minji moved quickly to the communication console. "Get me Admiral Doyen and Battlemaster Korthan on the same channel. Now." Within seconds, both commanders appeared on split screens. Admiral Park Doyen stood on the bridge of the UTNS Indomitable. Battlemaster Korthan, a massive alien covered in thick armor plates, stood in his own command center looking confused and angry. "What is the meaning of this?" Korthan demanded. "My fleet came to support negotiations, not to fight unknown enemies." "Your fleet came to show force," Admiral Doyen said coldly. "Now you'll have a chance to use it. Those ships are the Devourers. They don't negotiate. They don't communicate. They consume everything they find." Korthan studied the tactical data his sensors were collecting. His expression changed from anger to concern. "I've heard rumors of such a species. Entire civilizations disappearing without explanation, but I thought they were myths." "They're real," Jiwoo said, "and they're heading toward the inner system." High Diplomat Zelthar made a decision that would change everything. "Battlemaster Korthan, I am authorizing an emergency military alliance with Earth. We cannot fight these creatures separately. We must work together." "You don't have the authority," Korthan began. "I am the ranking Velkaris official in this system." Zelthar interrupted. "By emergency protocols, I can authorize defensive alliances. Unless you want to explain to the High Council how you let humanity face this threat alone while we watched." Korthan was silent for a moment. Then he nodded, agreed. "What are your orders, Admiral Doyen?" From Earth, President Yoon Seoho's authorization came through. Admiral Doyen was given command of the combined fleet. He immediately began coordinating with Fleet Admiral Jang Hyunwoo, humanity's greatest strategic mind, who was aboard the Indomitable. "All ships, move to defensive positions around Mars orbit," Doyen ordered. "We'll make our stand there. Captain Jiwoo, I need your science team to analyze the Devourer ships. Find me a weakness." On the Sovereign, Dr. Kang Hyeri worked with science advisor Quilven, who had transported from the Velkaris command ship. Despite being from different species, both scientists understood the urgency. Dr. Ryu Jiho, humanity's expert on xenotechnology, joined them via holographic link from Earth. "Their ships use a distributed network system," Ryu explained, studying the sensor data. "See these nodes? They're command processors. The ships communicate constantly, coordinating their actions like a hive mind. If we can destroy enough nodes, the fleet will become uncoordinated." "How many nodes?" Quilven asked, unknown. "But the flagship definitely has a primary node. Destroy that and the entire network will be disrupted." Captain Jiwoo looked at the tactical display. The Devourer flagship was the largest of the 15 ships, positioned at the center of their formation. It was protected by layers of smaller vessels and thousands of drone fighters. "I'll take the Sovereign," Jiwoo said. "We'll go for the flagship." "That's suicide," Commander Choi Minho said from his tactical station. "Maybe," Jiwoo replied. "But it's our best chance." "Admiral, permission to engage the enemy flagship directly?" Admiral Doyen studied Jiwoo's face on the screen. He knew what he was asking. The Sovereign would have to penetrate deep into the enemy formation. Many ships wouldn't return from such a mission. "Granted," Doyen said, "but you're not going alone. I'm assigning the Maelstrom and 6 destroyers to support you. Captain Lim Yuna will coordinate with you." The Devourer fleet reached Mars orbit 3 hours later. The battle began immediately. The Harvester drones struck first, swarming toward the human and Velkaris ships like a cloud of metal insects. Point defense systems lit up space with weapons fire. Lieutenant Kim Subin launched from the Sovereign with her fighter squadron. 48 human fighters screamed into battle, their pilots skilled and fearless. Velkaris fighters joined them, and soon the space around Mars was filled with deadly aerial combat. "Stay tight," Subin shouted to her squadron. "Don't let them separate us." The Devourer drones were fast and numerous, but human and Velkaris fighters were skilled. Subin's fighter twisted through space, her weapons destroying 3 drones in quick succession. But for every drone destroyed, 2 more appeared. The main Devourer ships opened fire. Plasma cannons tore through space, melting shields and armor. The Velkaris cruiser Bright Dawn took a direct hit and exploded, killing everyone aboard. A human destroyer, the UTNS Defiant commanded by Captain Shin Aryam, moved to protect a damaged Velkaris vessel and took heavy fire. "Defiant is losing power," reported a tactical officer. On the Defiant's bridge, Aryam watched her ship falling apart around her. Engineering was gone. Weapons were offline. Life support was failing. She could evacuate her crew, but the Velkaris ship behind her would be destroyed. She made her choice. "All hands, abandon ship," Aryam ordered. "Get to the escape pods now!" Her crew evacuated, but Aryam stayed at her station. She redirected all remaining power to engines and pointed her ship at the nearest Devourer command vessel. "This is Captain Shin Aryam to all vessels," she broadcast. It's been an honor serving with you. The Defiant accelerated, its dying engines pushing it faster and faster. The Devourer ship tried to turn away, but it was too late. The destroyer crashed into the alien vessel at tremendous speed, and both ships exploded in a massive fireball. The explosion cascaded through the Devourer network. Data connections were severed. Coordination failed for several precious seconds. Admiral Jang Hyunwoo saw the opening. All ships attack now. Hit them while they're disrupted. The combined fleet surged forward. The Sovereign led the charge, its massive bulk protected by the Maelstrom and 6 destroyers. Commander Choi Minho unleashed the Sovereign's full arsenal. Quantum displacement torpedoes bypassed enemy shields, exploding inside Devourer ships. Gravitational beam weapons tore vessels apart at the molecular level. The Sovereign's point defense systems created walls of fire that no drone could penetrate. And then Jiwoo gave the order he'd been saving. Fire the main gun. The Sovereign's spinal-mounted railgun, 3 kilometers long, charged with incredible power. When it fired, the entire ship shuddered. The projectile, traveling at a significant fraction of light speed, punched through the Devourer flagship's shields like they didn't exist. It penetrated deep into the ship's core and detonated. The flagship began to break apart. Without its primary command node, the Devourer fleet's coordination collapsed completely. Ships that had moved with perfect unity now operated independently, making mistakes and exposing weaknesses. All squadrons, press the attack, Admiral Doyen ordered. The battle raged for hours. Ships on both sides were destroyed. The Velkaris lost 9 vessels. Humanity lost 6, including the Defiant. But slowly, methodically, the Devourers were defeated. The last enemy ship tried to escape, jumping to faster-than-light travel. Human fighters pursued and destroyed it before it could carry any information away. When the battle finally ended, the combined fleet regrouped. Ships were damaged. Crews were exhausted. Nearly 3,000 beings had died in the fight. On Harmony Station, Captain Jiwoo met with High Diplomat Zelthar. Both were wounded but alive. They stood at an observation window looking at the debris field where the battle had occurred. "Your Captain Ariam saved our people," Zelthar said quietly. 300 Velkaris were on that ship she protected. "We will never forget her sacrifice," Jiwoo nodded. "She was a good officer. A good person." Dr. Ryu Jiho's face appeared on a nearby screen. His expression was grave. "Captain High Diplomat, you need to see this. We've recovered data from the Devourer wreckage. What did you find?" Jiwoo asked. Ryu's next words made Jiwoo's blood run cold. These 15 ships weren't an invasion force. They were scouts. The main Devourer fleet is still coming. Thousands of ships. They'll arrive in 6 months. Zelthar and Jiwoo looked at each other. The battle they had just won was only the beginning. High Diplomat Zelthar stood in front of the viewing screen, trying to understand what had happened. The massive human ship floated in space before him, silent and powerful. His diplomatic training told him to stay calm, but fear whispered in his mind. "Compose a message," he told his communications officer. "Tell them we accept their greeting and wish to begin formal negotiations." Fleet Commander Bramoth approached him. "You're making a mistake," the reptilian commander said quietly. "We should withdraw and wait for our reinforcements." "We came here to negotiate," Zelthar replied. "That's what we'll do. Unless you want to explain to the High Council why we ran away from first contact." Bramoth's scales rippled with anger, but he said nothing more. The human response came quickly. Ambassador Lee Minji's voice was professional and calm. "We are pleased to begin negotiations. We invite your delegation to our diplomatic station, Harmony. It orbits between Earth and our moon. Captain Han Jiwoo of the Sovereign will escort your fleet to the station." Zelthar felt relief. They were willing to talk. Perhaps this could still end well. "We accept your invitation. We will follow your escort." On the Sovereign's bridge, Captain Jiwoo gave orders to his crew. "Set course for Earth. Keep our weapons offline but shields at full strength. Commander Choi, I want constant scans of the alien fleet. If any of them so much as power up a weapon, I want to know immediately." "Yes, sir," Choi Minho replied from his tactical station. The journey to Earth took several days. The Velkari ships followed the Sovereign through the solar system. They passed Mars, where human mining stations dotted the planet and its moons. They saw the asteroid belt, where massive ore processors and construction facilities worked constantly. Jupiter's orbit held more surprises: shipyards building new vessels, defensive platforms, and science stations. Science advisor Quilvin watched it all with growing dread. They've industrialized their entire solar system, he said to Zelthar. This level of development should have taken them centuries. How did we miss this? Our observation posts were too far away, Zelthar admitted. We saw only Earth itself. We didn't look at the rest of their system. A catastrophic intelligence failure, Quilvin said. Finally, the fleet arrived at Harmony Station. The space station was elegant and large, designed to accommodate many species. When the Velkari's delegation transported aboard, they found a meeting room prepared for them. The air was adjusted for their biology. The lighting was comfortable. Temperature and gravity were perfect. Ambassador Li Minji greeted them personally. She was a small woman by human standards, but she carried herself with confidence. Beside her stood Dr. Kang Hyeri and several other humans. Marines in powered armor stood at attention near the walls. Welcome, Li said in perfect Velkaris. Please be comfortable. We have much to discuss. The negotiations began. Zelthar presented the standard Velkaris offer. Join the Confederacy as a member species, receive protection and technology, provide resources and respect Velkaris authority in certain matters. Li listened politely. Then she smiled. We appreciate your offer, but we're not interested in being a junior partner. We propose an alliance of equals instead. Zelthar's antennae twitched. Equals? Yes, we share technology. We coordinate on mutual defense. We trade as partners. Neither of us gives orders to the other. This was not how first contact usually went. The Velkari's Confederacy had made contact with 17 species before humans. All had accepted membership as junior partners. But looking at the massive sovereign visible through the station's windows, Zelthar realized humans were different. I will need to consult with my government, he said carefully. Among the Velkari's delegation was cultural liaison Mirasol. Her species had empathic abilities, able to sense emotions in other beings. As the negotiations continued over the following days, she observed the humans carefully. Ambassador Li radiated controlled determination. She was completely focused, never showing doubt. The Marines, including their leader Sergeant O Taiyang, were different. They were relaxed on the surface, but Mirasol sensed something underneath. Coiled violence, ready to explode into action at any moment. These were not ceremonial guards. They were hardened warriors, but warriors who had fought what? Earth had been at peace for over a century, according to their own records. Mirasol decided to investigate. She approached one of the junior human scientists, a young woman named Bei Jisoo. The researcher was friendly and eager to share information about human culture. Through careful questions, Mirasol learned about the resource wars, conflicts fought in space decades ago as humanity expanded into the solar system. But surely those wars were minor, Mirasol said. Your people have been unified since then. Jisoo hesitated. There's something else, she said quietly. 15 years ago, our deep space probes detected something in a nearby star system. Kepler 442, we found evidence of something hostile. Automated ships that attack anything they find. We've been preparing ever since, Mirasol understood then. The humans hadn't built their fleet to conquer or explore. They built it to survive. Every massive ship, every weapon, every soldier was preparation for a threat they knew was coming. On the third day of negotiations, alarms suddenly rang throughout Harmony Station. Captain Jiwoo's face appeared on the main screen, his expression serious. Ambassador Li, we're detecting a large fleet emerging from faster-than-light travel at the edge of our system. Velkaris signatures, 47 warships. High Diplomat Zelthar's face showed shame. I did not authorize this, he said quickly. Fleet Commander Bramoth must have called them. Called them for what? Li asked, her voice cold. To show strength, Zelthar admitted. Our military council believes in negotiating from positions of power. I see, Li said. She turned to Captain Jiwoo's image. Captain, please inform Admiral Doyen of the situation. Already done, Ambassador, Jiwoo replied. The Admiral has activated the fleet. Zelthar didn't understand what that meant until the sensors updated. All across the solar system, ships began moving. The Sovereign was joined by 4 more Titan-class vessels. The UTNS Indomitable came from Jupiter. The UTNS Thunderchild emerged from Venus orbit. The UTNS Adamant appeared from the Kuiper belt at the edge of the system. The UTNS Maelstrom dropped out of quantum slip from deep space. With them came 73 destroyers and cruisers. Fighter craft launched from hidden bases on moons and asteroids. The human fleet numbered over 200 ships, and they moved with perfect coordination. The Valkyries' reinforcement fleet stopped advancing. Their commander, Battlemaster Korthan, found himself facing a force that outnumbered and outgunned his fleet. He had come to show strength. Instead, he was staring at power he couldn't match. On Harmony Station, Captain Jiwoo arrived in person to speak with High Diplomat Zelthar. He brought the Valkyries' leader to an observation deck where they could see the human fleet maneuvering. "We didn't build this fleet to conquer anyone," Jiwoo said quietly. "We built it because we detected something dangerous, a species that destroys other civilizations. We've been watching them for 15 years, preparing for the day they arrive." He pointed to a holographic display showing deep space monitoring stations positioned around the solar system. "We've been expecting company. Just not you. Your arrival is interesting timing." Zelthar felt his understanding shift. The humans weren't aggressive. They were terrified. They had seen a threat coming and spent 15 years building weapons to survive it, and they had succeeded in building an impressive force. "What is this threat?" Zelthar asked. Before Jiwoo could answer, alarms blared across both human and Valkyries' vessels. Dr. Kang Hyeri's voice came over the communication system, and for the first time she sounded frightened. "Captain Jiwoo, we're detecting unknown signatures emerging from faster-than-light travel in the outer system. Configuration matches the predator species from Kepler 442. She paused. "Sir, they're here. The Devourers have found us." The stars looked cold and distant as the alien ships appeared near Neptune. 12 vessels dropped out of their faster-than-light travel and floated silently in the darkness of space. Inside the largest ship, High Diplomat Zelthar moved his insect-like legs across the command center. His compound eyes studied the blue planet far away in the distance. "Send the message," Zelthar said to his communications officer. "Tell them we come in peace." The message went out in dozens of languages. Zelthar felt confident. His people, the Valkyries, had watched Earth for many years. They knew humans had primitive rockets and simple space stations. This would be an easy first contact. The humans would be grateful for the protection the Valkyries' Confederacy could offer. Fleet Commander Bramoth stood nearby. His reptilian scales reflected the light from the control panels. "How long until they respond?" he asked. "Days, perhaps weeks," Zelthar replied. "They are barely learning to leave their planet." Science advisor Quilvin made a bubbling sound that was his species' version of laughter. His amphibious body shifted in the special water tank he used. "Primitive creatures. We should offer them technology in exchange for their resources." But something unexpected happened. On Earth, alarms blared across military bases. In Geneva, at the United Terran Command headquarters, Admiral Park Doyen stood in the war room. Holographic displays showed the alien fleet near Neptune. Officers rushed back and forth, their faces tense. "Get me Ambassador Lee," Doyen said. His voice was calm, but his eyes were sharp. Across the city, Ambassador Lee Minji woke to the sound of her emergency communication device. She dressed quickly and arrived at the command center within minutes. When she saw the alien ships on the display, her heart raced, but her face remained calm. "First contact," she whispered. "After all these years." "What are your orders, Admiral?" asked a young officer. Doyen looked at the alien fleet. Then he looked at another display showing the outer solar system. Near Saturn, a massive shape floated in the darkness. It was the UTNS Sovereign, humanity's greatest secret. "Send the Sovereign," Doyen ordered. "Let them see what we really are." Far out in space, near Saturn's rings, Captain Han Jiwoo sat in his command chair. The bridge of the Sovereign was massive, filled with officers working at their stations. Holographic displays showed every system of the giant ship. It was 4 kilometers long, covered in weapons and armor. Jiwoo was 43 years old with gray streaks in his black hair. He had commanded the Sovereign for 5 years, but this moment was different. This was what they had built the ship for. "All crew to battle stations," he said quietly. "But keep weapons offline. We are not here to start a war." Commander Choi Minho turned from his tactical station. "Course laid in, Captain. We can reach Neptune orbit in 6 hours. Dr. Kang Hyeri, the linguistics officer, looked up from her console. "I've analyzed their broadcast. I can decode their language." "Good work," Jiwoo said. "Prepare a response. Ambassador Lee will want to speak with them." The Sovereign's engines came to life. Blue light filled the space around the massive ship as it activated its quantum slip drive. The vessel began to move, accelerating to speeds that should have been impossible for something so large. Back on the Valkyries command ship, science advisor Quilvin was reviewing their data on human technology. Chemical rockets. Nuclear power. Simple satellites. Nothing impressive. He was preparing a report when his console began to beep. "What is that?" he asked. A junior officer checked her instruments. Her face changed color, showing confusion. "Sir, I'm detecting a gravitational distortion. Something is approaching from the inner system." Fleet Commander Bramoth moved quickly to the tactical station. "Size? I don't understand these readings," the officer said. "It's impossible. Nothing that large should be able to move that fast." High Diplomat Zelthar felt his confidence drain away. "Show me." The main display changed. It showed a massive shape moving through space toward them. The Valkyrie ships were tiny by comparison. Their largest vessel was only 800 meters long. This thing was more than 4 kilometers. "Weapons," Bramoth shouted. "Raise shields. Charge all batteries." The Valkyrie's fleet went into defensive formation. Weapons powered up. Shield generators hummed to life. Every sensor focused on the approaching ship. Then it arrived. The UTNS Sovereign dropped out of quantum slip drive 20,000 kilometers from the alien fleet. The massive battle carrier hung in space like a dark mountain. Its hull was angular and covered in armor plates. Thousands of weapon ports lined its sides. Launch bays for fighters glowed with internal light. The ship's name was written in letters 10 meters tall along its hull. On the Valkyrie's command ship, panic spread through the crew. "That's impossible," Quilvin shouted. "Our intelligence said they were primitive." Bramoth's claws gripped his command chair. "All ships maintain defensive posture. Do not fire unless fired upon." Zelthar tried to think clearly. Everything they knew about humans was wrong. Completely wrong. This ship represented technology equal to or better than the Valkyrie's Confederacy. How had they hidden this? On the Sovereign's bridge, Captain Jiwoo watched the alien fleet with calm eyes. "They've raised shields and charged weapons," Commander Choi reported. "But they're not targeting us yet." "Good," Jiwoo said. "They're smart enough to know they're outmatched. Open a channel to Earth. Ambassador Lee should make first contact." The quantum communication linked to Earth instantly. Ambassador Lee Minji's face appeared on a screen. She had been studying the decoded alien language during the Sovereign's journey. "Ready, Captain?" she asked. "Ready, Ambassador." "You're on." Lee took a deep breath. Then her image was broadcast to the alien fleet. She spoke in their own language, the words clear and perfect. "Welcome to the Sol system. We are pleased to meet you. Please lower your weapons." On the Valkyrie's command ship, silence fell. The humans spoke their language, perfectly. Zelthar felt his certainty crumble completely. These were not primitives. These were equals, perhaps even superiors. "High Diplomat," his communications officer said quietly. "What should we respond?" Zelthar made a decision. "Lower shields. Power down weapons. And send a message to Valkyrie's command. Tell them everything. Tell them we were wrong about the humans." But Bramoth had already made his own decision. While Zelthar prepared his diplomatic response, the fleet commander sent a secret message. A small drone launched from his ship and jumped to faster-than-light speed, heading back toward Valkyrie's space. The message it carried was simple. The humans were dangerous. "Send military reinforcements." On the Sovereign, Dr. Kang Hieri's console beeped. "Captain, I'm detecting a faster-than-light launch from one of their ships. It's heading away from our system." Jiwoo's eyes narrowed. "A messenger. They're calling for help. Should we pursue?" Choi asked. "No," Jiwoo said. "Let it go." Admiral Doyen expected this. He opened a private channel to Earth. "Admiral, they've sent a message to their home. It seems they want to test us." On the secure channel, Admiral Park Doyen's face showed no surprise. "Then we'll show them what happens when they test humanity. Prepare the fleet, Captain. If they want to see our strength, we'll give them a demonstration they'll never forget." The alien diplomatic mission had come to offer humanity a place in the galaxy. Instead, they had discovered that humanity was already a power to be feared.